Are we ready?
No.
This is going to be good today.
Oh, I'm ready.
Good grief.
Well, only one thing left to say. Kick it!
He already did.
I was way ahead of you.
Oh, well, good. Where have I been? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hardheaded podcast, where we talk about stuff that is practical and realistic. Brought to you by Admiral's Pennant Beard Oil.
Yes.
To my left, Mr. Matt Amos. To my right, Mr. Chet Sears. And I am Troy, three-shot Trussell. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Fellas.
Glad you're listening to
I feel
us.
like I'm in front of you, not to your left. But
Well, I'll say in front of from now on.
and across from me.
Across from me, Mr. Smarty Pants.
Thank you.
What's on your mind, Chet Sears?
Hey, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now that is making it very obvious what some organizations are trying to do. So overall, I guess the best way to put it, there are two angles to every story. So,
All right.
And with what we have now, with so much video and so much cameras, there are cameras everywhere, right? So,
I was talking to somebody just the other day about always being watched,
right.
pretty much wherever you are.
And
Yeah.
and what we're seeing, and specifically what I'm talking about is Dante Wright. So last week there was a 13-year-old that was doing some suspicious activity. I believe it was he and another guy being accused of shooting at cars as they're driving by at 2:30 in the morning in Chicago. So a police officer showed up and they began running, and he ended up chasing down Dante and I'm assuming saw a weapon. It's on video. He pulled out a handgun from his pants and turned around, and so the police officer shot him. Unfortunately he died. So it's something I'm following. We've talking about gun control and gun violence and
Right.
a lot of stuff that's going on. So kind of looking at it, and the first video that I saw was the entire body cam footage from the police officer. So it shows him driving, it shows him bailing out of his car, shows him chasing the individual down an alley. It shows, then the audio comes on about halfway through. So the camera's running apparently, but the audio isn't on until they hit a button or whatever. And he's like, stop. The guy gets to an opening in the gate and pulls a gun out from his pocket, his pants or something in his right hand. Well, what actually happened is the opening in the gate, he pulled it out and turned and he threw it behind the fence and then turned around,
With his hands up.
had his back to the officer, pulled the gun out with his right hand, and then turned to his left. So his body covered up the action of him throwing the gun away, and turned and to face the officer. And then the officer fired one time, went over there and immediately started CPR, called for an ambulance. This is not it's not a good thing here. I wasn't intending, don't want this kid to die. So looking through some Twitter feeds, and if you looked at CNN's Twitter feed, USA Today's Twitter feed, everything else, they had a screenshot of the 10th of a second where you saw him without a gun in his hand. Right. I'm talking, it was a half a second between when he had his back turned with a gun in his hand and to when he turned and faced the officer. So it wasn't drawn out.
Right.
So rather than show CPR or show, a completely opposite of what they're doing, the picture, or the screenshot where you could see the gun in his hand, there's a camera that was across the parking lot or across the other side of the alley where you could see this happen too. Again, it wasn't a view from the police officer though. the media is showing like he had his hands up without a gun and he got shot. But if you watch the video, the whole video, and they don't show the whole video,
Right.
It's like, I understand. And now the debate is, well, if you want to talk about people dying in Chicago, it's not the police officers that are the number one people pulling the trigger. There's, every night there's so many people getting shot. But if you look at the situation, like the biggest problem that we have is not, in this case, that caused this is not the police officer. And I wouldn't even say it was necessarily the actions of Dante. He's 13 years old, was 13 years old, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and he's got a handgun, and he's out with a 21-year-old person that also had a handgun, in Chicago. Like, what the heck?
Recipe for disaster.
I mean, why, literally, who does he live with? Like, what's his family situation? Like, that's where we should be focusing our attention, I think, is like, why are we having 13-year-old kids running around at 2:30 in the morning in a city with a gun? Like, that's jacked up.
Yeah. So now you have this situation where this happened. The boy died. The cop is going to have to go through all kinds of stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Investigation and everything.
Right.
Well,
unfortunately, I mean, I don't know. Fortunately, unfortunately, we all know what happened. Like, there's a body cam, right?
Right.
Now, pre body cam, like, I don't know how this would have gone. Like, he had a gun and I shot when he turned on me, and I mean, it's actually what the video shows too. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just the way the angle that the media is choosing to run with this story is like, hey, there was a teenager that was shot. None of the articles even mention the time of day. Like he was shot he was a unarmed teenager with his hands in the air that was shot by a cop. And if you watch the video, that's not what you're going to see. Like, that's not, it's just not. So anyway,
even on the video, when you're watching a video as opposed to seeing something in real life, I mean, it's like looking at, when you take a picture with your iPhone, and what you see and what that iPhone captures are two completely different things. You typically have to go through and, you're like, in person, you're like, oh, I want to take a picture of that mountain over there. And that mountain looks huge and majestic. And, and when you take a picture of it, it looks so far away, because it's you're not seeing that visual. And so the camera doesn't capture that. And when you're in that type of situation, I mean, you're talking about split seconds of making a decision that are life and death.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be.
I do think, though, that the camera shows how fast everything happened. And
it does, but then the media slows it down so they can play with the speeds that.
That's my point. They didn't show. They literally
right.
The U.S. No, it was I think it was a CNN video. Literally,
I think it was CBS.
Yeah, it was CBS. They stopped the video on the only frame in the video where his hands were even near his shoulders.
And that's right as the shot.
Yeah.
It bang.
Yeah.
And then it's over. They stopped it. They cut it. They didn't show any of the follow-up actions.
And not that they can, I don't even know if you're allowed to show somebody getting shot on a CBS feed or whatever, but don't make it so, I mean, just quit being shady. Like, that is totally not cool for CBS to do something like that. It's totally not cool for USA Today to do that. And it goes back to Charles Barkley. I mean, 3 weeks ago, March Madness, he's like, look, there are people that are profiting off of the hatred that's being stirred up.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And it's so obvious the angle that's being taken by the media on this specific event is to do nothing but stoke something. Like, right. It's and get people fired up about some story that they want to use to get more money, be more profitable, whatever. It's not to help a community. It's not to help heal. It's not to help explain. It's not even just to tell the truth. Like, just let's lay out all the facts. They're totally not doing that.
Well, there's certain organizations out there that if things in society get fixed, they don't get any more money.
Yeah.
So they're going to push these things out there to keep their cause alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and we've seen, I mean, specifically, an article that came out last week as well, like CNN's down 54% in viewership since Trump left office. Like, so that's alarms should be going off for them and for their revenue stream of advertisers that pay based on how many people watch. So naturally, we got to do something here to get people to watch us, and conflict is what people like. I mean, we were in TV and everybody was like, hey, you gotta have some conflict. You gotta have some kind of a cliffhanger before every commercial break. You can't just, have fun. You can't just talk about stuff, and you gotta have tension. And the 24-hour news cycle is doing nothing but trying to create tension.
Well, and then the 24-hour news cycle has that one story, but then they play that story 50 or 60 times during a day because they don't come up with any other actual news to report. So they're bombarding everybody's feed with the Army lieutenant who was stopped. They fill your feed with this stuff. And I don't know. It's a tough situation with the cop shooting that kid, and I know that everybody out there on, certain sides thinks that cops don't have any emotion. They're basically just robots and stuff like that. But I can guarantee you that guy is not sleeping well. When he goes home at night, he's not sleeping well because he didn't want to shoot that kid. Cops have emotions. They're not emotionless, and they're not robots. And people have to realize that they're people, and the victim was a person as well, or the suspect or whatever we want to call him. Right?
Well, and I skipped a bit. We talked about the shooting, and we talked about why is a 13-year-old out at 2:30 in the morning, and it seems like a lot of people on the right are just like, do whatever the cops say. Like, why did you run? Why didn't you stop? All that kind of stuff too. So, we skipped over talking about that, but there's a valid question as well. Like, why didn't, why'd you run? Well, he ran because he's 13 years old. It's 2:30 in the morning, and he's got a gun. Like,
he's scared.
Yeah. You don't want to get caught with a gun. He's trying to ditch it. He was, my theory is he was trying to create enough distance between himself and the cop to ditch the gun so that when he got caught, he wouldn't be a 13-year-old that had a gun, possession of an illegal firearm in Chicago. That's understandable from that perspective. So let's back up. If we're going to, why did he get shot? He got shot because he had a gun, and he pulled it out and turned on a cop. While the cop couldn't see, he ditched the gun. But all that happened in a half a second. Well, why was he running from the cop? Well, he was running from the cop because he had a gun. Why did he have a gun?
Right.
Like, why was he out at 2:30 in the morning? Let's keep asking why until you get back and you're like, well, what why should be addressed? Well, if the kid had somebody in the household that was like, dude, you're not leaving the house after a certain time. This is just not going to happen,
Especially at 13.
Gosh, 13.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's 14.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
I've got a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old in my house. There's, hey, what's the? My dad used to say, like nothing good happens outside the home after midnight. Like nothing.
Yeah, like, nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
I don't know that, but you
guys
do something.
A little bit of levity to the situation. How I Met Your Mother. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it's I think if we're gonna start solving problems, I think we need to back up, especially in this case. Let's
find
back
the root.
up. Yeah. And let's start talking about why do we have kids running the streets in Chicago at 2 a.m.? Why? Like what's going on in the community there to where that's a practice like that happens?
Well, and I didn't see it, so this is all secondhand information, but I believe that the parents were interviewed and they didn't seem like it was any big deal. And that's what I heard. And if that's the case, which it may or may not be, I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard because I haven't seen their interview. The problem starts at home. If that's the case, if they don't see a problem with their 13-year-old running around at 2:30 in the morning, that's a problem. And I think a lot of these problems start in the home.
Yeah.
Without a good family structure, without a positive male role model there to guide, you know, even if dad's there and he's not providing that positive role model, then he's basically worthless in that position anyway.
Yeah.
So, and that goes back to even what Bob Hammer talked about in one of our first episodes was, you know, it comes down to dads in the home.
Yeah.
And being a father, you know.
So if we could, I don't know, focus on that, right? In the bigger picture, like let's focus on what can it take to get kids in a position and to where they're not putting themselves in harm. And maybe it's not 13 years old, but if I cared about them when they were 13, when they're 21, are they going to be doing that? You know, I don't know. But if we're going to invest money for all these, you know, GoFundMe's and all this, you know, these organizations that are national that are raking in millions of dollars, and all they're doing is protesting and causing destruction everywhere. Like, I think we should be investing in really focusing on the home and what we're doing
Absolutely.
in the home, in these communities, to create a better environment. So
Agreed.
that's my thought. And kind of two angles to the story to kind of, you know, you talked about the lieutenant in the Army that got pulled over. I saw the video of the stop.
And we actually, so this was like a long drawn out, probably 3-hour discussion that we had. And we had differing opinions at the time. And
Still do.
I don't know if we completely have differing opinions, but it goes to show, you know, because we saw one video and, you know, it basically shows the cops coming up to his car, guns drawn, and his hand, you know, like, get out of the car, and he's not getting out of the car.
He's legitimately freaked out.
Yeah, he's scared, and he's got his hands
why
out the
are you
window.
going to shoot me? I don't even know why you stopped me.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
And so, you know, and I'm like, man, if, you know, and if I just go back, if I was stopped and if it was me. Now, of course, I'm not black. I don't know, but I have, like I told you, got pulled over for absolutely nothing and got accused, or, you know, they said, hey, there's been, you know, people shooting guns at houses or something like that, or, you know, shooting car windows out or something like that, you know, and, you know, it was a Mustang and a Camaro, and me and my buddy were driving around, and, you know, I was driving my Mustang and he had a Camaro, and they pulled me out of the car. They put me in handcuffs and set me on the curb and stuff like that, you know, like, get out of the car. Okay, whatever. And, you know, can we search your car? No, no. And, but, you know, ultimately it got figured out and they let me go. They said, hey, you know, all right, wasn't you, have a good night. Okay, awesome. You know,
Yeah.
But I got out and complied, and, you know, nothing happened. So I think,
but they also didn't have their guns pulled out pointed at you when they pulled you over.
No,
But I look at that like,
but if they got their guns pulled out on me, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely going to move slow, right? I'm still going to get out and do what they're telling me to do. So, and that's why, you know, I go back to, like I told you about the Army officer, you know, I would think that he would have a little bit more bearing in that kind of situation. Like that didn't scream, you know, Army officer to me.
well,
But
you have the Army. I know you're not a big fan of the Army guys.
no, I'm not. But what I'm saying is
like that's the kindest thing I've ever heard you say about Army people.
but
Like
you know,
ever.
But and their leadership corps is not as their officer corps is nowhere near what the Marine Corps officer corps is. But, you know, I mean, it's I couldn't believe that, you know, hey, all right, hey guys, let's figure this out, okay? Because he was super intimidated in the car, you could tell.
Yeah.
But he was still being respectful. He was being polite.
No.
For the most part, I think he was being pretty polite.
No. I don't think so at all. And so much so that like the other officer was trying to de-escalate and like put his gun away and all that. And he was like barking orders at him. Like, don't you go close to that car. You know, I'm like,
I'm talking about the Army guy.
oh yeah, he was really polite.
Oh, you're an idiot. So yeah, I was like,
Because I can't understand how you're communicating.
yeah.
Oh,
learn.
okay.
Communication breakdown,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Listen better. There's two sides to every story, Chet. Jeez. That's what we're talking about here. But, you know, and I get to being nervous, but So anyway, you know, we argued about
He was
this.
extremely polite.
Yeah, and we argued for like 30 minutes about this the other day, you know, and so when I went home, you know, there was a video that got posted, and it was like the full, not the full stop,
It was the aftermath.
It goes afterwards, you know, the cop's saying, well, you know, because everybody's saying, you know, he signaled and, you know, he pulled over, and Chet was saying, well, you know, it's like 30 seconds, you know, that he was pulling into a lighted area.
He
right?
wanted to go to a safer place for everybody. I
Right.
mean, it's safer for cops when you go to a lit place, a
Right.
well-lit place to stop the traffic stop.
But, you know, and I was telling Chet, you know, I was like, how many of these videos have we seen where somebody signals, you know, and they pull over into a safe spot, and then the cop comes up, and then automatic gun comes out, and bang, bang, bang. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, the cops are in a precarious situation. It's just, and that's what I was telling
And
Chet.
then we argued about why do you even pull somebody over? Like in this,
We had a huge argument about tinted windows, like huge.
yeah, because he had his tags like taped in his back glass, like temporary tags, and the law in Virginia is that they have to be taped to your license plate holder. But then the guy couldn't see him. The cop couldn't see that they were taped in the back glass because the windows were tinted, and it was at night.
Yeah.
Like that's the.
Yeah, I mean, and
So then he's like, well, I'm going to pull the guy over however late it is because I can't. He doesn't have a license plate. You know? Okay.
well, I mean, if we just let everybody go, I mean, whatever, you know, what do we even have police? I mean, why don't you
Liberty?
Why don't you just
Oh,
go?
a little Liberty?
Why don't you just go run in Minnesota for office or something like
Yeah.
that? But
Minnesota.
but the video of that aftermath came out, and the cops explained to him, and you hear, you know, hey, we've been, you know, I pulled up behind you when we pulled out of this, and we followed you for a mile and a half, you know, and
which could be 30 seconds depending on how fast he was driving.
well, then he would have got a speeding ticket.
Well, my whole point was after watching the second video is the police officer that was being a total jerk with a gun pointed at a guy for not having visible tags. Spent a lot of time coaching the lieutenant. Like, hey, let me tell you, this is why I did this. This is the next time if this ever happens to you, this is how you should respond. You know, in a way, you know, it would be good. You know, they're like, put both your hands out your window. And he's like, okay. And he did. And they're like, okay, now get out. What? Huh? I don't know how to do that. You know, like you need to see both my hands.
Can you open the door for me, please?
Yeah. I mean, but he's like, hey, no, this would have been okay. You just talk through everything that you're doing. You do it very slowly, you know, and so he did a lot better. The second video gave me a different opinion than just the first one. So the angles that we're talking about, I had a more complete picture of who the police officer was. Still don't agree that we should have had two guns pointed at a guy for not having visible tags. I know that they're in harm's way every time that happens, and I know it was dark, and I know all the stuff. But I'm so happy that this is the two people that were involved in this were actually talking to each other afterwards, and nobody got shot.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's a win-win, right?
And it does, I think.
Well, and both of them, I mean, it de-escalated once he got out of the car
after the pepper spray and all the other stuff, and they're getting sued.
They're getting sued. I mean, pepper spray, who cares?
Yeah.
So,
but we're not talking about somebody getting shot here and dying. Like that's a good thing.
Right. Exactly. And I think after it was all said and done, they both approached it from a mutual respect, and they got it worked out, which is where I think that we're lacking. Is there's respect is thrown around a lot, but it's typically like respect me, you know, or respect this. It's never, I'm going to respect you. I request that you please respect me as well.
Right.
Right. So it just comes down to that mutual respect. And, you know, and it was, you know, it's an unfortunate situation that happened. And, you know, I wanted to jump to the defense, but of the Army guy, right?
No,
because
I was there.
You were there, but
you wanted to argue with me.
Well, because I sat and I thought about it.
Because you enjoy it.
What's new?
No, it wasn't
because you like losing.
It wasn't specifically to argue with you. It was because, you know, I've tried more in 2021, like I've said this whole year, to see more things from both sides. right? And so I don't ever want to make a rash judgment. I want all the details to come out. So while everybody else is hemming and hawing over this first video and whatever it is, it could be the unfortunate event with a 13-year-old, it could be the army lieutenant, it could be anything. But I want to wait to see all the evidence laid out, because what we have a problem in this society of making rash judgments. We see one thing and then we jump to, oh, this is the way it is. And then that becomes the narrative. That's what people hear. That's what people think. And then even when the truth comes out, it's like, oh, well, no, that's not the case. They're trying to cover this up. And the media is the most dangerous tool that we have in this country, by far the most.
And that's what we're finding, is that they're the ones that are setting the narrative,
right?
And
because
they're the ones that are hiding all the facts from getting out.
It's not even news anymore. It's a dramatic TV show is all it's turned out to be. And they're trying to drum up all the drama that they can to keep you glued to that, so that their advertisers can make money.
Which is why I don't watch
so they can make money. Yeah.
That's why I don't watch them.
No, I mean, yeah, that's
why I listen to the Hardheaded podcast. Oh yeah.
Because we give you
all the facts,
practical and realistic information.
That's right.
But no, I mean, and I think we still don't agree on certain things, that like window tinting and stuff like that, but
my windows are so dark.
I agree with the laws of the state of Mississippi.
But you're not in Mississippi, you're in Kansas.
I know, but I'm just telling you, there are some states that have it right and some states that don't.
Fight to get it changed. Fight to get it changed.
I don't really care about it that much.
See? I do.
All right. Well, Chet, thanks for bringing us what was on your mind today. I think we need to take a little break, and then we'll hit up our top 3.
Sounds good. I got some Admiral's Pennant beard oil in the mail, and I tried to open it up, but then I realized it's not the lid right here. It's actually taped in the middle. So
that's fancy.
For those of you that are going there and buying that, all you've got to do is just open this thing up. I've got a dropper. It comes with a little bit of a...
So they actually come with an orifice reducer or the dropper. So whatever method you prefer.
Couple drops in your hand and rub it in. Oh, I love that 1815, man. It smells so good.
You know the good thing, though?
So
I can't
good.
smell you over here.
Yeah? That's good in a couple different ways. It's good because I don't stink, and it's good because this isn't overpowering. It's not like wearing cologne, but it's right under my nose, so.
That's the good stuff. Check it out.
AdmiralsPennant.com.
Welcome back.
Top 3 fishing lures.
It is the lures.
I don't know why I say it like that.
Springtime fishing. Everybody becomes a fisherman around my neck of the woods in the spring. Like, there are people all over my neighborhood now just walking around with their little fishing backpacks.
Oh, yeah.
Going crazy.
Must be nice.
Must be.
Had to have a fishing backpack?
Yep.
I used to live in that neighborhood.
I'm not a fan of the fishing backpack.
I do miss the fishing already.
Yeah.
No pond in my new neighborhood.
I mean, I just have your basic standard tackle box,
Is the dual top open and then the shelves that pop out?
So I've got one of those, and then I've got a fabric one that just has the little plastic cases in it, because my top 3 lures.
Go for it. Let's go. Number 3.
What if I want to do one and then?
Then you would let Troy down.
Yes.
So,
and all of our fans.
The number 3.
I don't know about that.
Drop a comment if you want to hear 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3.
I don't think anybody cares.
I care. That was Star Wars quote.
Now, see, these technically, I should have 2 number 1s here.
What?
But
whatever you want, man.
I'll start with number 3.
Okay.
Troy, you're welcome.
With 2
right on.
Hey, I have 2 number 1s.
Is the mouse fly? So I don't know if y'all remember when we were talking about our top game meats.
Salmon.
And yep. Well, so this one I use for trout.
Trout.
Yep. And y'all wanted to laugh because it's called mousing.
Still laughing about.
Yeah.
But
you didn't have to remind us.
Yep. But you cast the mouse fly out, and then
How big is this thing?
I mean,
like
it's
2 inches.
No, it's like probably an inch.
Oh, it's a baby mouse.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
I literally imagine that was like a 4-inch.
Nope.
Like how do you
House
throw
mouse?
that on the end of a
Jerry.
So
fly rod?
as you cast your fly out, and you use the flex
Your mouse out.
mouse out, you use the flex in the tip of the rod
Mm-hmm.
to create that motion as it swings through the current, and it looks like it's trying to swim up, but it's losing. And if you can cast that right over a rainbow or a dolly, they're going to hammer it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably the most successful fly lure that I've ever used for trout ever.
Weird.
So number 2,
Number 2, what?
favorite fishing lures
Lures.
is I like a bobber
Okay.
with a weight and then a jig.
Oh, okay.
So, and we actually did that out with
Joel.
when we were fishing out with him.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to do when you're trying to tell a blind guy when to set the hook. Because, I mean, he set that thing like molasses. I mean, it's like, set your hook. Like, no. I mean,
Like a sloth.
set the hook. Because, he's used to saltwater fishing.
Yep.
And in saltwater fishing, I mean, the hook basically sets itself. But
You don't set the hook. You just start reeling.
Yeah, you
Like,
just
that's-
wait for it to go zzz.
And then you start reeling. Yeah.
so, and I've always been successful with that jig, just letting the current kind of take it and let the waves make that jig do its motion, and let the fish do what they may. And my number 1 shocker is a hook, a weight, and a minnow,
Oh, yeah.
or liver, or shrimp, or
Hot dog.
hot dog sprayed with
WD-40. I busted a myth for him.
I did have a myth busted today. I thought WD-40 had fish oil in it, and then that's kind of what created like a little slick
sheen.
Yeah, like when feeder fish come up and it creates that little slick on the water.
Yeah.
Sheen.
It's a slick, whatever. Same thing, but it kind of does the same thing, and it really works.
But I actually went to WD-40's website, and they have a section of myths of WD-40. And the number 3
That's awesome.
was fish oil is in WD-40 because it is a successful, like they talked about people that spray their baits in lures, like to keep them from rusting or whatever else, that they get better hookup after they spray. They get more bites. And Matt's like, oh, I've sprayed them on hot dogs. I sprayed WD-40 on hot dogs because of the fish oil. They're like, well, it's not fish oil.
Mineral oil. Still oil.
Mineral
whatever.
spirits is what they say online.
It's oil.
Spirits.
Because I actually had to look up a study, because now that I've been disproven, I had to go back and I had to look, and there was an independent study done where somebody sent WD-40 out to lab and had it analyzed, and it was mineral oil. Whatever. I don't know
They
what
say mineral spirits on their
I mean,
website.
I don't know what spirits. I mean, that sounds
Oil.
like alcohol to me. But
Oil.
whatever.
So live bait basically is your number 1 fishing
I prefer
lure.
live bait, because if I'm not fishing for salmon or trout, I'm trying to do either crappie or catfish.
Yeah.
And catfish, I just have a lot better luck with live bait or cut bait or whatever it is.
I'm with you.
Yep.
Well, how about you, Troy? Top 3.
So, top 3. Number 3, I'm going to go with crawlers or worms. Yes, this is a live bait.
Okay. Like night crawlers,
Night crawlers. Yeah.
which is a worm.
Yes, correct.
So the ore wasn't really needed.
Well, you can buy,
Get red worms.
if you go to Walmart,
Yeah.
you can get red worms or crawlers.
Or glow in the dark worms.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's like a whole host of options there for you.
Yeah.
So, because I like to fish for crappie and brim, as we call them down south, but up
Sunfish,
here they're
bluegill.
sun
Bluegill?
perch, sunfish,
I don't know.
bluegill. Yeah, so, and I've had best luck with worms, fishing for those.
Yep.
Number 2, shiners, another live bait.
So where I fish, a shiner is different than a minnow. Are you talking about a minnow or a shiner?
I've just always called minnows and shiners
The same thing.
the same thing.
So on Lake Fork, a minnow is small and what you crappie fish with, and a shiner
Is it biggin?
is like 4, 5, sometimes 6 inches long, and is like huge, and that's what you bass fish with, like for live bait. So minnow, crappie, shiner, bass.
Well, then I would use minnow.
Minnows. Okay.
Yeah, for crappie. Because for bass, I normally 85% of the time am using my number one chartreuse spinnerbait.
Yes.
And that's what I use pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
I've never had good luck with topwater baits or anything.
Mhm.
Just always had good luck with the spinnerbait, so I stick with it.
Yeah.
Probably has to deal with like the time of year and stuff I'm fishing, but
I don't know. Spinnerbait is
I don't know.
a staple. It is a staple.
It's pretty. I mean, I've caught bass on it almost every time I've gone out.
Mm-hmm.
So
See, I've weeded all that stuff out of my tackle box pretty much, from rooster tails to the Rapalas to the Rebels to you name it, all gone. And I just basically use a hook, a weight, and a minnow, or a hook, bobber, and a jig.
So I'll let you guys in on a little secret, because fishing with like worms, not night crawlers, you got to keep refrigerated. But in Louisiana in the summertime, that's a dicey situation. But I really got into the brim with I started using maggots. Like their marketing name is Little Maggies. But they come in like a condiment size cup with some sawdust in there.
yeah,
They're alive.
yeah.
And man, they you get like 50 of them in one of those things, and they're small. But I took your mom out fishing on Caddo Lake with those, and man, we tore them up. That was just awesome. I was like, man, that's so. Then Gulp, the plastics company, they actually make artificial maggots, and so those are really good to have if you don't want to go get live bait and have to deal with all that kind of stuff. You can they're scented and all that whatever for catching bluegill.
Nice.
Yeah. So my top 3, number 3.
So that top secret information right there was not one of his top 3. I just want to let that be known.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No. It's right up with you. It's a chartreuse and white spinnerbait, 3/8 ounce with the double silver willow blades. That's the thin, skinny blades.
Mm-hmm.
Always done better on willow blades than I have on the Colorado blades, which are the big round blades. Let you go a little bit faster with spinnerbait, and you could play with it different levels in the water column based on retrieve because there's less drag. So, and for every one of these, this like I'm kind of crazy. I'll have, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them that I've used that I will have in my tackle box, and then I'll have 3 or 4 or 5 in a package unopened, just in case something happens. I've got plenty of these.
Yeah, I've gotten hung up a few times, had to clip the line.
Yep.
Always good to have an extra.
Or 2 or 3.
That might be why I go with
hooks,
hook,
weight,
and a minnow.
Yeah.
It's not like when you go.
Because if I go spend $5 for a lure and I lose it in a tree, I'm upset. I've probably got $1 million hanging in my trees on my pond.
Million.
Yeah, but if you have like 6 of them in your tackle box, it's like, it doesn't really matter that much. It's not like I have to go spend $5 now.
Yeah, but
I have.
By the time
more.
I'm done, because I want to hit that spot, because I'm hard-headed about it,
practice more.
and
You need to
I will
practice.
have 6 of them in the same spot.
That's
in
that's a problem.
one tree.
So number 2, a rattle trap made in Alexandria, Louisiana, by the way, by Bill Lewis Lures. One of my favorites, actually number 2. But the chrome blue bleeding shad pattern. So it's got mostly chrome body, and it's got some red dots on it like it's a wounded bait fish, a chrome blue back, and then the hooks on this one are red. which is that's my favorite pattern. Throw that more than any other color rattle trap out there. Love it. A lot of fun. Number one, I've got a tie.
The look on Matt's face.
So, and for one reason, this is a ridiculously expensive bait, but a yellow magic. It's not yellow, but it is magic. It's made in Japan. It's a topwater plug. Sharpest hooks on any hook I've ever touched. It has the sharpest hooks on it that have ever been there.
What kind of price point are we looking at?
Like $17.
Wow.
It floats, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would buy a $17 bait that sinks, but let me tell you why I would spend that amount of money on it. So it's very close to the Rebel Pop R. There's some differences. There's actually a real feather that's tied to the back treble hook, where Rebel uses an artificial one.
That's where the extra money comes in.
No, yeah.
It sits in the water a little bit differently, and the pop sound that it makes is a little bit different. The beads they have in it rattle a little bit differently as well. But my buddy Griff and I were fishing at Dutch John Bottom. You know where that is?
No.
That's the duck lease that we had. That's the name of the body of water.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Always called it the lease.
Yeah, it was Dutch John.
Dutch John.
Anyway, we get out there. We're in a 14-foot aluminum boat. I'm throwing a baby bass colored Rebel Pop R. And Griff is throwing the same size baby bass colored Yellow Magic. And he out-caught me 3-1 fishing in the same boat in the same place. Like, just, it was ridiculous. I still have not heard the end of that, but then I was like, you know what? Because I was watching what he was doing, and I'm doing the same thing. You know, we're mimicking each other, and he's just catching more fish than I am. They're hitting that lure much more than they are the Rebel Pop R. So I'm like, okay, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend like $17 on a stupid fishing lure. And, man, I love them. So I've got several now. The color I've had the most success with is the smoked shad. And to, you know, kind of a little bit of justice, Griff and I were fishing together again, Lake Fork. We both had the Yellow Magic tied on this time. And I'm catching, I don't know, I probably had 6 in the boat, 6 that I've caught. And he hadn't even got a bite. And he's getting upset. I mean, he's getting so mad. And I'm paying attention to what I'm doing and what he's doing differently. And after, like, that 6th fish, he's just like, that's it. What am I doing wrong? What's different? What are you doing different? We got the same. And we did. We had the exact same fishing lures tied on. And I said, well, I'm glad you asked, Griff, because I know exactly what's going on. And he's like, what? And I said, well, when I pop, I'm just popping that lure like 2, maybe 3 inches through the water. Like I'm just giving a little twitch with my rod tip, and that's what the fish are wanting. And I said, because I vary that, and how many pops you do, how far you pull, all that kind of stuff. And then when I get a bite, I just repeat that. That's kind of my process. Well, he's like, so, and I said, when you're doing it, you're pulling it like 6 to 8 inches, like you're really ripping that thing through the water. I said, so if you just pulled it like 2 or 3 inches, like, you know, pop, instead of the, you know, the big pulls, then I think that's the only difference that I can see that's going on. And he's like, you mean I should do it like this? And he just pulls it 2 inches through, and a bass hits it right then. Bam! And then he's like, oh no, I'm never going to hear the end of this, you know? And he's right about that too, because every time I'm down there, I tell that story to somebody in front of him.
Yeah.
I've heard that story twice now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the time I told Griff how to fish.
So anyway, so tied for that. If you don't want to spend $17 on a fishing lure, if I haven't sold you on that one, topwater's still so much fun. And the Super Spook Jr. by Heddon, Zara Spook is another name for it, but in the Lake Fork shad color. It's one of those stick baits that you kind of walk the dog with, you know, back and forth when you pop it through. I caught so many fish with that thing. It's just a blast. And the Lake Fork shad color is kind of hard to find, but I've got a lot of confidence in that bait. So if you want to go topwater and you don't want to spend $17, that'd be the one I do.
Nice.
That's my top 3.
All right. I like that. I might spend $17. I might even spend $34 just in case.
Just to have a couple?
Yeah, just to have a couple.
I'm going to have to invest in a paycheck worth of those because I'll find it doesn't matter what it is. If a hook can get stuck to it, I will find it.
Yep. You find all the trash down there, huh?
All of it. I've caught more stickfish than.
This one sits on top of the water. Even if you break your line, it's not going to, you can go get it.
Yeah, but it doesn't help when you cast it
into a tree. You know what helps with that? Practice.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It's like you in archery. I'd rather shoot a rifle than shoot a bow.
I'm pretty accurate with a hook, a weight, and a minnow. I can get that where I want it every time.
Well, why don't you get us to a good word?
A good word?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I don't know how much of a good word this is. I think just playing off of what Chet was talking about with the two sides of different stories and the way the media has portrayed various stories and the manner in which they portray them. And so I'm going to read out of Jeremiah 9:3, and it says, "They bend their tongue like a bow. Falsehood and not truth has grown strong in land, for they proceed from evil to evil, and they do not know me, declares the Lord." So I really believe that that's what is going on. They're going from falsehood to create false narratives to drive whatever agenda they have, which I believe their agenda is division, because again, their ultimate goal is money. And if we're all getting along, then I don't think that they're making money.
You're not going to tune into the news if you don't want to find something to argue about.
So, and that's kind of where I'm leaning with this. And I just, I've been thinking a lot lately just about, even if you're not a believer, I think if you were to follow the guidelines that are set forth in the Bible of how we should treat each other, and you go based off of, what Jesus said of how we should live, I think that would solve. I know that would solve all of these issues. Like those issues just wouldn't exist. And you've got so many people out there that are trying to either deny that God exists or that Jesus was his son. You've got so many people trying to fight that, and so I know that would be a tall order for everybody to read that and then just say, hey, like I said before, I think Mike Myers has the trademark on it, but BIBLE, basic instructions before leaving Earth. Even if you just read it as an instruction book and say, hey, if we chose to live like that, we would have a more perfect union, and our society would be better. Because even if you look back, I think we were better off 20, 30 years ago than we are now. But I think the further that we get away from biblical principles, the worse off we get. And I just don't think there's enough people making that connection. So my challenge is to, even if you're not a believer, go read that and figure it out, because it's right there. Hey, it starts with love your neighbor, right? And if we're doing that, then guess what? We're going to work these things out. Yeah, we're going to have issues. Absolutely, we're going to have issues. There are going to be things that we disagree on. There's things that Chet and I disagree on a daily basis, but we can still get along.
Half of them are just because I want to disagree with him.
Right.
Like I've said things that I totally don't agree with just to be on a different side of an issue.
Right. And I sit there and I'm like, he cannot honestly believe that. But, and you never, and you don't know, because I don't want to pretend to know his heart. He could be a criminal sympathizer. That's so fine. Much fun. But anyway, that's where I'm at with a good word. I think the media, and I had so much written down for our little discussion today that we didn't even touch on. But, when we were talking about gun laws and stuff like that too. So just to kind of back up a little bit, because I don't know when we're going to.
We'll get to gun laws.
Reapproach it.
We'll get that in a different episode. We can't breach that right now.
I really think that the most dangerous tool that we have in this country right now is the media and the way that they're sowing division within the people. And I just think if you would just turn them off and just talk to your neighbor, I think we would be better off. And that goes back to, again, coffee and a donut.
Amen. Turn it off. Delete your account.
Yeah, talk.
Whatever.
Keep those ratings dropping. Make them lose some money, because they do not have your best interest at heart, at all.
And that goes just about for all of it.
Not
just the stuff that you don't agree with.
No, I'm talking. I mean, It doesn't matter whether it's Fox News, CNN. Turn it all off, because they don't have anybody's best interest at heart at all.
Yeah.
The only place you're going to get that is a place like here on this podcast.
That's right.
Because we truly do care. So
I got you.
Where I'm at.
Right on.
Good word, man.
What? Don't just point at me, fool.
Take us on out. There it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Hardheaded. Give us a rumble. Watch us on YouTube and hashtag join the conversation.
Subscribe.
Leave
us a comment on Apple Podcasts, please.
Spotify.
Yeah, give
What
us
else?
a review wherever you find us. We would appreciate it.
Great job, Matt.